If you'd like stronger glutes and legs, but your knees hurt when doing squats or lunges, then this video's for you. I'll show you two often overlooked exercises that are safe, functional, joint friendly, and work a lot of different muscle groups all at the same time. So let's get straight into it. The two exercises are the sumo squat and the sumo deadlift. Now, before I explain how to do them and the differences between the two, let me first explain why they're so important. When you go to lift something in real life, particularly if it's large or heavy, you straddle your legs around it before lifting. And that's exactly what you do in these two exercises. So they're very functional and mimic the way that we lift in real life. Now, to look at them from the surface level, you may think they look fairly similar. And they are, but there are some key differences. So I'll first show you how to do the sumo squat, then show you how to do the sumo deadlift, explain the differences between the two, and then help you choose the one that may be best for you. So let's get started. To do both exercises, you start out with your legs straddled wide, kind of like a sumo wrestler. This gives you a wide base of support and makes you very stable, but it also puts your inner thighs or adductors on stretch. The muscle groups that will work with this are the quadriceps, the adductors, the glutes, and the hamstrings, as well as the lower back. But depending on which exercise we do, it will emphasize them to different extents. First, for the sumo squat, you want to take a wide stance with your toes turned out slightly. Again, this will put your adductors or inner thigh muscles on stretch, and then you come down into a squat, lowering your bottom down towards the floor. And because you have a wider stance here, your bottom drops straight down, kind of between your heels, and so this puts a lot less stress on your knees than a traditional squat. Keep your trunk fairly vertical, grab onto the weight, and then drive up. Now note that since your toes are turned out, you want to kind of turn your knees out to match your toes, and that really helps you to feel a stretch on your inner thighs here. One of your inner thigh muscles, the adductor magnus, acts as a hip extensor. And what hip extension means is this is hip flexion, hips going backwards. This is hip extension with the hips going forwards. And so you use your glutes, your hamstrings, and your adductor magnus to help with that hip extension movement. And you use your quadriceps to help extend or straighten your knees from the sumo squat. So to see it from the side, again, you take a wide stance here, straddle the weight, then turn your knees out so they kind of match your toes. You should feel a strong stretch around your groin. Try to drop your bottom down straight between your heels. Keep your trunk fairly vertical with this. Grab onto the weight and then come back up like this. Then lower back down. If you don't have the range of motion to get all the way down to the floor, just go through the range that you feel comfortable doing, particularly if you have knee pain. But try it out. You might notice that you have significantly less knee pain doing a sumo squat than you would with a traditional narrow width squat. So that's the sumo squat. Now to see the sumo deadlift, again, it is fairly similar, but there are some key differences. Instead of bending so much at the knees, you're going to hinge from the hips, pushing your hips back. Now notice the knees do kind of bend as a byproduct of this, but you're not really thinking about lowering your bottom down. You're thinking about pushing your bottom back. Then grab onto the weight here, push the hips forward. Again, that's hip extension, so glutes, hamstrings, adductors, and then hips back. Hips forward, hips back, hips forward, hips back, hips forward, hips back. Now this also uses your lower back muscle some as you're coming up this way, whereas with the squat you use more quadriceps, keeping the trunk a little bit more vertical, so there's less stress on the lower back. So how many sets and reps should you do of each of these exercises? These are heavier lifts, so I'd recommend keeping your reps in a range where you can do 6 to 10 repetitions per set. Now, how many sets should you do? A good rule of thumb is to shoot for 25 to 30 repetitions in total. So if you're doing sets of 10 repetitions, you might do 3 sets, whereas if you're doing 6 repetitions, you might do 4 or 5 sets. Now, what are the differences between the two? Again, you bend the knees more and keep the trunk relatively more vertical with the sumo squat, which puts a little more stress on your knees, emphasizes the quadriceps more. The glutes and hamstrings and adductors still get a workout, but not quite to the extent as with the deadlift, and there's less stress on the lower back. With the deadlift, since you're bent forward a little bit more, you do use a little bit more back extension. You really use your glutes, hamstrings, and adductors, and you still use your quads some, but not quite as much as with the squat. So again, here's the deadlift, just so you can see the differences between the two, and the squat, to see that from the front, the squat, and the deadlift. Now, if you do have knee problems, the deadlift may be better for you. If you have lower back problems, the sumo squat may be a little bit better. But keep in mind that people with back problems can still do sumo deadlifts, and people with knee problems can still do sumo squats. You're just going to want to keep your weight and depth in a range and level that's comfortable for you. So hopefully you did find this helpful. If you did, make sure to give the video a like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on future tips.